Many of my best clients are already using balanced scorecard, but are struggling with different aspects of it. Now, in order to be successful with balanced scorecard, there are really 3 pillars that you need to have. And those pillars are, first of all, the technical aspects of balanced scorecard, getting those right. The second is the process aspect of balanced scorecard, which means using it and doing it in the right way. And then the final aspect, which is probably the most difficult, is the leadership aspect of balanced scorecard. You really need to get all of these right in order for balanced scorecard to be successful. Okay, so let me talk about each of these in sequence. When we're talking about the technical aspect, these are really the nuts and bolts of balanced scorecard. We're talking about, are you using goals correctly? Are you articulating them correctly? Do you have measures, and are you using those correctly? Do you have causal relationships between the goals that make sense? Have you developed your strategy maps in the correct way? These are really technical aspects of balanced scorecard, and they can make a huge difference, whether or not you get those right. Typically, what I see in companies that are struggling with technical aspects of balanced scorecard, I'll see things like goals that are actually expressed as actions and initiatives rather than as goals, or measures that don't really indicate success of the goal. And sometimes I actually see goals sitting in isolation in a strategy map with no causal relationships. These are technical failures in balanced scorecard that can lead to the whole initiative going awry. Process aspect. Okay, what am I talking about here? Process is all about how you go about developing the balanced scorecard and then how you go about using it in managing your company. Some of the most common mistakes that I see in the process area are developing the balanced scorecard behind closed doors with a small group of people and not involving the participation of multiple people in your organization. Now, when a balanced scorecard is developed behind closed doors, it's very difficult to roll it out and get buy-in because the people who are going to have to implement it weren't involved in producing it. And even though the strategy might be right, just not having brought in people to participate in developing it will actually cause resistance in the rolling out of balanced scorecard. The second thing that I find going on in balanced scorecard is using it in a regular way. Having strategy meetings without actually bringing out the strategy on the balanced scorecard. Having internal meetings inside business divisions without bringing out their Tier 2 balanced scorecard. Or other things that I see too is having monthly meetings for balanced scorecard, but not looking at the corporate card and the progress on that, but rather looking at the individual divisional cards. That tends to lead to micromanagement rather than overall strategic management. The final aspect for success in balanced scorecard really has to do with leadership. And this is probably the one thing that has the least to do with the mechanics of balanced scorecard. I think it's important to say that balanced scorecard is not a replacement for good and strong leadership. You need to have good and strong leadership in order to make your balanced scorecards initiative successful. And that can be one of the hardest things to deal with, particularly when balanced scorecard is being handled by a strategic planning department. A strategic planning department can be very good at addressing the technical aspects of balanced scorecard and even the process aspects of balanced scorecard. But it's very difficult for a strategic planning department to confront the leader of the organization and say, hey, there's some things that we need to work on here in order to make this successful. In cases like that, it can be very helpful to bring in a third-party consultant.